To pass your interview, here's 3 tips to help you overcome some of the common failures that I've seen when interviewing candidates. The first one's pretty simple. Take a pencil and paper with you and write down the question. Rarely do I see candidates ever do this in the interview, and it tends to cause problems. What happens is the candidate will get a question from the interviewer, they won't write it down, they'll start telling their story, and then a few minutes into it, they'll step back and they'll ask, "Hey, can you repeat that question again?" Immediately, this puts the candidate in a negative light. This re-asking of the question halfway through the answer shows that the candidate had a lack of attention to detail at the beginning of the exercise and that they're not doing some of the basic functions that would be expected, which is taking notes along the way. The second tip is you need to think about your response before responding. Again, I rarely ever see any candidates do this. In the interview, what ends up happening is the interviewer will ask a question, and then almost immediately the candidate dives in and they start answering the question. The reason that this is a bad practice is because the candidate isn't taking any time to think of the best response to give or how to structure their thoughts. What ends up happening is the candidate picks a less than stellar answer, and when they do provide the answer, the story tends to wander all over the place and even circle back to the beginning. So what you want to do here is hear the question, write it down, clarify that question if needed, then take some time to formulate your thoughts. A best practice here would be to say, "Do you mind if I take 60 seconds to collect my thoughts?" Then as you're collecting your thoughts, with that pencil and paper in hand, bullet point some items about the story that you want to tell. That way you can be structured with your answer when you provide it. And the third tip that I can give you here is that you're almost always going to want to provide your answers in the STAR format. Now this stands for situation, task, action, and result. And when you provide your answer, you want to use those specific words in that specific order. Now, it sounds easy enough, but I've seen plenty of recruiters explicitly tell their candidates to use the STAR method and show them how to use a STAR method, but then when they get into the interview, the candidate doesn't actually use a STAR method properly. So when it comes to your interview prep and your interview answers, just make sure that you're double checking that you're properly using the STAR method and you're using it consistently with all your answers. When you use these 3 tips, you'll be doing a lot more than almost any of the other candidates out there, and it's definitely going to increase your chances of success when passing the interview.